You know, with the number of Israeli hostages released, which we hadn't seen in a long time, but 16 total now, and just remarkable that they're released just before President Trump retained office again. How are the releases impacting the broader conversation about peace in this region?
Well, Adrienne, obviously they like to see, Israel likes to see the releases. It's been motivating, but of course today, when they see 3 hostages released who, looked as if they'd been tortured, definitely had lost a tremendous amount of weight, which does happen with prolonged activity. I would point out that if you look at our POWs that came back after being held for years in Vietnam and by North Vietnamese, and also if you look at World War II with the Japanese POWs, they too came back looking very gaunt. And I should mention on the Geneva Convention, those holding hostages only have to provide sufficient food for them equivalent to what they're getting, and food insufficiency has been a big issue. It's been very motivating for them to see them come back. On the other hand, looking at their condition today, there's been a hue and cry throughout Israel. We have got to accelerate this. We have got to move to the next phase. We have got to get all our hostages back because they're afraid that there'll be more hostages that won't survive.
I want to get to what everybody was talking about this week and the controversial plan for America to take over Gaza. Let's listen to what he said during the visit with the Prime Minister of Israel this week.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site, and get rid of the destroyed buildings. We have an opportunity to do something that could be phenomenal. And I don't want to be cute. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East.
And you heard him there call it the Riviera of the Middle East. There are some who have taken those comments and ran with them and implied that, this is nothing more than a big real estate deal for President Trump, who obviously has done a lot of real estate in his career. But on the other hand, if you listen to some of the things that he said and others who actually, like Speaker Johnson, who are supporting him, it's really about making this a safe space, which it is not right now. 90% of housing is obliterated. What are your thoughts, and what do you think will happen as a result of these strong comments?
Well, Adrienne, one thing this does is it puts a marker down. It's a proposal. It's a proposal in an arena where there's been an absence of real proposals. Part of the problem is the ground is controlled by Hamas. The infrastructure is destroyed. The lack of sewage, running water, utilities across the board. It's really not a livable space. And as the residents there are moving back to their homes, they're not really finding homes they can live in. So there's a basic habitability problem within the entire space. So it does address that. On the other hand, under the Geneva Convention, if those residents, if the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip are forcibly relocated outside the Gaza Strip, that could be interpreted as ethnic cleansing. That's a violation of the Geneva Convention. We are a signatory, obviously, of the Geneva Convention. So there is a fine legal line there. Now, if they voluntarily move somewhere else, that's a different story. But then you get into what were the circumstances on that. The problem, that what it is, and then there are those who say, look, this is just how he negotiates, being Donald Trump. He throws out these things. He kind of shoots way out there, and then he brings it back in. And we've seen that time and again. And we certainly saw what he did with tariffs, and he brought it back in and came up with a solution for both Mexico and Canada, at least temporary solution. And that is his track record of doing things like that. So it's really tough to tell, is this really a serious in-state proposal, or is this the beginning of a negotiation and trying to kind of bring forth some other options out there from some of the neighboring states like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and Jordan?
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.